Hey friends, and welcome to the channel. And if you're new here, my name is Alexander Richter. I'm a technical director for visual effects, animation, and games. And today I want to talk about traveling and working abroad. This is something that on one side a lot of people dream about, working in different countries, exploring the world, but also maybe sometimes the same people are afraid of, because it is a frightening experience to go into a different culture, go into a different country, make everything work. It's not just the experience of moving somewhere else and everything is great and works and so on. It is all that to some degree. There is some cool things to experience, maybe people to meet that you've never met before, that you will never meet in your own environment. But there's also bureaucracy, there's taxes, there's everything that surrounds that. You have to find a new place in a different language, maybe different currencies, different regulations. And that can be a very frightening experience. And also the whole move of like how to pack, how to organize, how to get the flight, how to get the job, everything of that can be a very frightening experience. So what I want to talk about are two things for today. One thing is this kind of traveling the world while working project to project. And the other thing is literally moving to a different country to work there. So first one is the traveling the world. So a very famous way of working in visual effects, animation, and games is basically project to project. That means there is a new Marvel movie, there is a new movie at all, there's a new game somewhere in the world, and you move there, do your expertise, do your lighting, your compositing, whatever you are doing basically, and then after the project is over, you move on. Sometimes it can mean you stay and find something locally, maybe in London, that is something more current where you have like Framestore, MPC, DNEG next to each other, or maybe depending on where you are, maybe there are no options, maybe there's just more or less one company. For example, if you work for Weta Digital in New Zealand, there are not many options. Sure, nowadays we have the option of remote, but that is not always the best situation. And sometimes maybe it's not something that you want to do. Maybe you like to have people around you and work specifically in the company. So then it means to be constantly on the move. And that can be actually a very challenging experience, because a lot of people always think it's like, oh, it's great, you're in different countries, you're constantly traveling, you experience the hotel life and stuff like that. And to some degree, it's super cool to travel somewhere else, experience the new culture, experience the environment. For example, I'm currently in Singapore, and it's nice to see how people live here, to experience the life here, and to see basic differences to what I'm used to. But on the other side, sometimes you don't have much time, you are tired from work, you're constantly maybe overworking, there's a lot of things to do, you're just trying to adjust to the environment, and that can be very exhausting. And then you end up not really like being exposed to the environment, not really enjoying what you see and what you could do, because at the end of the day, the main focus of the whole trip is to work. And that the work is in a different country is just kind of a side project, basically. And I think that is one of the hardest part of working abroad, specifically for a project, is to still kind of enjoy it, to experience the country where you are. And I think there has to be some kind of conscious decision of, okay, I'm going to France, I'm going to the US, I'm going to Singapore, and I need to create some time and space so I can also live life, I can also experience this, and it's not just me being there from the hotel to the work and back, and then back to the flight basically. And what I do usually is I try to create some time. Maybe I negotiate something where I have more time or don't do overtime, or basically kind of arrive a little bit early or stay a little bit longer. So I always have a little bit time to explore, to basically see where I am. And there are multiple reasons for that. Not only because I feel it's kind of a waste to travel to a different country and then just basically see the hotel, see the airport, and see the company basically. Also, it is kind of, at least somewhere in my mind, of maybe I really like somewhere. Maybe I enjoy Singapore or Philippines or Thailand or America, and maybe I want to live there in the future or stay there for the next project. And I can only do that, and I can only decide that if I really experience the country. And so For me, it's kind of like an investment to, okay, not only want I enjoy it, I also want to make sure, hey, this is potentially a future home for me. So that is one of the things. So even if you think it's awesome to travel the world, I think it's only awesome if you can really take the time to enjoy it and not just jump around between meetings. The other part is to travel the world more or less and live in different countries. So depending on the opportunity, you are maybe able to work in London for a few years, then you go to Vancouver and so on. So you end up living there, you actually be part of there, you find a flat, you're not just in hotel hopping or something like that. And that's of course a completely different experience, because now you're also exposed more to your environment, but also to all the rest of the country's kind of bureaucracy, which means you have to apply for things, you have to figure out where you have to be part of, you have to open a bank account, insurance, and so on. And that can be also a little bit of a challenge. And especially in the beginning, very, very frustrating, because depending on the country, things are different than what you're familiar with. Things are maybe very slow or complicated. You need a translator because the language doesn't work. This is something I feel like we have to embrace as part of the process. And moving to a different country is always a big step. It's not just, hey, it's fun, I can work in London for a few years for MPC. Wow, great experience. And then you end up, oh, I have to apply for this, I have to open a bank account, I have to do that. And I think just realizing that that is a part of the process, and to some degree enjoying it and just accepting it as what it is, I think also gives you the opportunity to, embrace the situation and not have this hard time in this whole thing. And I had this before, where especially, for example, when I started to live in France, it was super hard to open a bank account, have an insurance, and because they're all interlinked, so you cannot have one without the other. And that was kind of like a frustrating time for me, including the language, speaking French and not really good in French. And so I needed to find my way through it. And what I did, and that's something I can highly recommend to do, if you move to a different country, just be aware that it will take some time to adjust. You will be maybe tired. Things will not work as you planned to do, not as you used to have. And you will have to do maybe some circles around things just to make them work before you actually can settle down. And I think the best way to handle that is to set up a little bit of time in the beginning, so you have the opportunity to, have the time, maybe a week or two before that, to walk to different departments and make sure, hey, do I need to apply here? Do I need to apply there? Talk with your company about maybe help or what you need to do. A lot of times, the bigger the company is, the more they help, and also the more they can give you like a PDF of, hey, these are the things that you should tackle when you start here. And also just be aware that this is part, you're like mentally prepared that for the next few weeks or even months, that this is part of your life. So just take some time off for that. And that is really hard, because if you start in a new company, one of the things that you want to do is like really dive into the topic, really show that you can do it, prove it to yourself, prove it to the company that you can do the job, and you became so kind of streamlined to do the work. But a lot of times actually I see people kind of forget all the rest, all the setting up, and it becomes such a burnout moment where you work 10, 12 hours maybe because you try to catch up and so on. Then you go home and maybe search for a flat or try to apply for something, and you're super tired, and that drags along for a long time because sometimes things take a while. Just to kind of keep sanity to some degree, but also enjoy the whole situation, I would just kind of create the mentality of, hey, I'm going to a different country. It is not a small thing, it is actually a huge thing. And to some degree, I should enjoy it. And to some degree, I should make sure that I take it as it is and not so lightly, because even in this multi-language community that we are in now, and in this kind of borderless environment, it's still not as easy as some people think to move to a different country, even for like just a few years of working there. Even if you're not planning to become a citizen, it still can be a challenge with all the setup that is required, from finding a flat to setting up with all the bureaucracy elements. So I think that is a really important thing, and that is also the resume, is basically whatever you do and it involves traveling and going abroad. I think it's a great opportunity to experience life, to experience the environment, but it is also part of our own responsibility to create time and to stay positive in a way, because there will be a lot of fear involved. There will be unknown things will not work and so on. And it is on us to give the right mental and physical space so we can handle them and come out ahead at the end. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to see more, check out my website, alexanderrichtertd.com, and I will see you on the next video. Check out my website, alexanderrichtertd.com, if you're interested in more content like articles, masterclasses, and coaching opportunities to work successfully in the industry.